Come in, Southern California. This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Do you copy? Repeat, do you copy?
Now transmitting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to citizen-sponsored Radio Free Los Angeles with President of the California Taxpayers Union, Mike Alexander, and editor of the Taxpayer Gazette, Jonathan Wilson.
Well, good evening again. This is Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson, Radio Free Los Angeles, and I have a special guest with me here this evening because this is Thanksgiving week. There are many things to be thankful for, but nothing should we be more thankful for than family. And so I have the privilege of having in the studio with me tonight Mr. Matthew Alexander II. This is my eldest grandson. Are you there, Matthew? Can you hear?
Yes.
All right. Can you? How are you tonight?
Good.
Yeah, where are your sisters?
At home.
All right. Did we escape so that you could come in and have fun without them?
Yep.
You know they won't forgive you for this. All right. Now, this coming week is Thanksgiving, right?
You're right.
What are you thankful for, Matthew?
My family.
Oh, very good. Good answer, kid. And so are we all. So I want you to be sure to tell everybody Happy Thanksgiving, okay?
Okay.
All right. Now, you only speak when you're spoken to over there, so we don't interrupt the broadcast. But one of the privileges of being on the show and being the host is the ability to have family in here. I'll be leaving for Washington, D.C. here tomorrow to visit with two of my sons and four of our other grandchildren back in Washington, D.C. So I won't be with you next Sunday night, but I think we'll try to replay this show a week from tonight. Mr. Engineer, I'm getting no signal.
It's Mr. Jonathan.
No speaking. Okay. Mr. Engineer, I'm not getting any sound in my left channel here. I don't know if it's an adjustment on the board or not, but in any event, all right, no problem. In any event, we have a good show for you tonight. One of the things that we wanted to continue was our review of the after election. There are a number of issues. I wanted to do a little bit of follow-up on the UUT repeal election that we had over there in South Pasadena. We had some interesting reactions. In addition to that, we also have an update on some of the individual elections. We got a lot of things to talk about as to what we do here in California to try to turn things around. Whether you're Republican or Democrat, if you have any idea that the state ought to survive, you must have some ideas here. And we would particularly like to hear from the conservatives among you as to what we do to turn the state around. Jonathan and I are going to open it up here. He and I are going to chat a little bit. Maybe that'll stimulate you.
And we've had some debates in the green room before the show.
Yeah. We did, yeah.
We're both scratching our head.
Yeah.
You know, I was really upset after the election in California.
Uh-huh.
And our tendency is to want to blame the voters.
Correct.
But what the real problem is the well-funded propaganda machine employed by the unions.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We really come down how it all happens. Now, for those of you who are sitting at home and listening to us, I know that you're the ones that are concerned. I would imagine that based upon the demographics of this particular audience that you voted at a very, very, very high rate. Your listening to this program indicates in and of itself your deep concern about these difficulties, but that is not sufficient for us. We have to get the word out to other people, and the fact is that overall turnout here in the state of California was still very low.
What'd you say, 43%?
Yeah, max for governor. And that meant that there were a lot of registered Republicans who didn't go to the polls and yet complain of it. It'll be very interesting to see what the voter statistics were down in Orange County.
Yeah, wow. What a heartbreak. Mm-hmm. I can't believe we lost every one of those seats.
Yeah. And we lost them to left-wing nutcases.
Yeah.
And we've got Gil Cisneros. There wasn't a flaky scheme or a tax ever that Cisneros didn't embrace. In fact, Gil Cisneros is an old friend of John, who volunteers there we are. I have, by the way, gentlemen, I have signal in my right ear, but nothing in my left ear there. So that just turned it down. Yeah, if you're hearing me chatting with the room there for some reason or another, I'm only getting right channel. That's all right. We're able to converse here. In any event, young Kim, those of you who are regular listeners will remember that she was on our show here about a month ago, and she was a very, very qualified candidate. She had been previously been an assemblywoman, I believe, from that area down there, and she had spent many years working in Ed Royce's office, so she was very familiar with California issues. She had prior legislative experience and had also had federal experience. She knew how to run a congressional office, so she was a uniquely qualified person. She actually won, was ahead.
Very comfortably on the day after the election, and they just kept finding votes.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't know
California,
either.
But it is it's devastating.
Given what happened in the rest of the country, it's hard not to believe that they weren't engaged in the same effort out here. Now, I don't have any particular evidence of it, but there's one thing that we do know, that there is tremendous election misconduct across the board, because all we have to do is to start off with voter registration in these several counties. I don't know what Orange County's election statistics are, but in California, we have, for example, San Diego County has 138% voter registration. Now, what that means is that of the number of eligible voters that are calculated from census statistics using mathematical models and so forth, you have 100% of the eligible people to vote. That is between 18 and over 18 and a citizen of the United States. The number of actual voters is almost 40% higher in San Diego County than it should be. San Francisco County, 14%. San Mateo County, they're at 111%. Santa Cruz and Los Angeles County, at least as of whatever year this study was at least 12% higher than the number of eligible voters. And then we know, of course, with certainty, that there are a lot of eligible voters who are not registered. We know that. We just know that anecdotally. There's a lot of kids in college who are not registered. There's a lot of people of various ages, some of them old, who are not registered. So that means the number of illegally registered persons is even higher. So what are we dealing with there? We're dealing with non-citizens, whether they're legal or illegal. We're dealing with non-citizens and dead people who remain on the voter rolls. And as we've mentioned here many times before, Jonathan, when we would go out and do various canvassing efforts for different candidates, and we've been out there for many, many candidates in the past, we go up, we knock on doors, we'd ask for a particular voter that was on our list, right? Because we get this information directly from the registrar of voters. They give it, we buy the data from the registrar of voters. We have a list of names in the neighborhood, go up there, knock on that door. Hi, I'd like to speak with Mrs. Hudson, please. It says, oh, Mrs. Hudson doesn't live here anymore. She's been gone here for several years. Or, my mom died here. Oh, my gosh, really? My mom's been gone for 10 years.
Yeah.
And then we turn around, we send that information into the registrar of voters, and we keep getting it. At our own firm, we manage trusts and estates, and and we have the mail forwarded to us. So when we get a ballot sent to us in the mail, we make a copy of the death certificate, send it into the registrar's office, and guess what? If that estate's still open a year from now, we get the ballot. Right?
Amazing.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, here's the break. Hey, I didn't even give you the phone number. Call us here at 866-870-5752. Be part of the show. And if you want to know, we'd like to know from you what you think that we need to do to change things here in California. Back with you here in just a few moments.
If you like what you're hearing and would like to support Radio Free Los Angeles and the California Tax Limitation Committee, please call area code 626-792-1772, 626-792-1772, or kindly visit our website, catlc.net, catlc.net. You can also watch Radio Free Los Angeles on Facebook Live at radiofreela.us.
If you'd like to talk with Radio Free Los Angeles, the phone lines are wide open. 866-870-KRLA. That's 866-870-5752. We're live, local, and here to talk with you. 866-870-KRLA.
All right, I think I'm live now. Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson, and Matthew Alexander back with you here.
Man, it is good having Matthew in the studio tonight.
It is, man.
Are you having fun?
Yep.
Oh, good.
All right,
and
good.
if you guys want to see us, you can join us on Facebook Live. So you can see Matthew, Mike, and myself doing the show right here from AM 870 in Glendale.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, we're glad. Whoops, I was away from the microphone. We're glad to have you with us tonight for the for this special Thanksgiving dinner. Edition. I'm thinking about Thanksgiving dinner.
Well, yeah, you've got it on your mind.
I do.
You're heading out early in the morning, aren't you?
I'm headed out early tomorrow morning with about half of the nation, making my way to Washington, D.C., a place that I would probably otherwise avoid were it not for the fact that I have two sons that live in that area. But I'll be headed out tomorrow. It'll be a great opportunity to get together. There will be, as in so many households, be lots of food, there'll be lots of wine, there'll be lots of whiskey and cigars, all of the forbidden items here.
And football, right?
And football, yeah.
College football. College
football. Next Saturday, we have SC and Notre Dame playing, so this will be a great weekend game. And for those of you who are college football fans, I think our top four, and not necessarily in this order, it's not my ranking, but as I recall from last week, it was Alabama, Clemson, I don't know who the third one was, but you got Notre Dame and Michigan. Maybe, yeah, that's it. Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, and Michigan. And I checked, and they're all four still undefeated going into this coming weekend. And then, of course, SC, which is my alma mater, unfortunately got ambushed there yesterday by UCLA. But I'll tell you what, when SC and Notre Dame get together, whatever happened in the rest of the season just doesn't make any difference. They come out for each other, and it's going to be a wonderful game, so I'm looking forward to watching it. And, of course, I always have mixed feelings because when I was growing up in Catholic school, rooting for Notre Dame was really mandatory. One of the reasons was, all these nuns, they have various orders that they come from. The Sisters of the Visitation, the Sisters of the Sacred Heart, Sisters of St. Joseph. Well, our sisters were the Sisters of Notre Dame, right? So on Monday morning, you better be able to say that you watched a Notre Dame game. But either way, it's going to be great football. So at any rate, be sure to join us here at 866-870-5752.
And by the way, you're gonna be out of the studio next Sunday night, so
Yes.
this episode is also going to replay on Sunday.
That's correct.
Right. So hope you had a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah, everybody here. So at any rate, we have people want to weigh in. It's the topic is stimulating some input. Let's start on line one with Michael from Encino. How are you this evening, Michael?
Yeah. Something, the Republican Party and all the candidates for state assembly, state senate, and Congress in Orange County, as well as Steve Knight in the Antelope Valley, and was it Mark Denham, I think, in the Central Valley. All
Yes.
those Republicans that lost in relatively close races, they have to, reverse their concession, sit there and dispute the election results, and get a hold of the voter registration rolls. If it's as easy as you say it is, we just go and buy them.
Yes.
Okay, of their particular districts, and then go through and go through the rolls and see who see who shouldn't be on them, whether they're dead or they're non-citizens. Okay, and then also get a hold especially of all the provisional ballots, all those ballots that came in after the day of the election,
Right.
and track down who voted for them, and if it's a disqualified person, have that vote thrown out. They
Right.
have to do something. They have to take some sort of legal action, take it to a federal court, not a state court. Take it to a federal court and do something like they did in Minnesota with Coleman versus that comedian, I forget his name. who won
yeah.
there. They
I
have
know.
to do something. They have to do something because to try and reverse these election
Al
results
Franken.
where it's obvious
Yeah.
that there was, well financed and
Michael?
voter fraud, basically.
Michael, you're absolutely 100% correct. Let me take this discussion, however, in a slightly different direction. When was it that we didn't know that this election day was coming? When was it that the Republican Party and the candidates running for office as Republicans were not aware of these electoral conditions? And the answer is they were always aware. When was it that the California Republican Party did not know that these are, in fact, the conditions on the ground? This over-registration, this everything has been has been part and parcel of the Democrat left wing and many Republican open borders types who have fostered this heavy influx of illegal immigration, and here we have the evidence. Yeah, this was always the case. So this entire state and the entire party throughout the country is schizophrenic. It says it wants to win elections and yet does not organize and behave as if they wanted to win elections. Here in the state of California, we know what we're up against. We're up against a well-financed organization, chiefly the public employee unions that push into the system $1 billion a year in dues, $2 billion every 2 years, and this is what we're facing. We have nothing comparable on the conservative or Republican side to push back against this. And I would respectfully submit that unless and until we organize as a state into some kind of organization where everybody's actually contributing money, we're going to continue to have this result. And it's your ideas, of course, are entirely correct. But all these candidates are operating on their own. They barely had enough money to get through the election, much less to mount a $10 or $20 million legal challenge to the vote. And where were they going to get support? Jim Brulte?
They should try and hold on a minute. They should try and get support from the National Republican Party. You know, and I think it's
well. What's magic?
The point is
what's
this.
Michael? What's magic about the National Party?
And there's one other person that may be able to provide $10 to $20 million in support, and that's Darrell Issa.
Yeah, we know Darrell.
Yeah, because Darrell Issa funded the recall against Gray Davis.
Yeah.
Without him paying for it, there wouldn't have been one.
Yeah, but here's the point. This responsibility, and of course you're absolutely correct. There's nothing wrong with anything that you've said, except for the fact that the whole situation misses the entire point, and that is ultimately this is a responsibility of each and every citizen. And if we here in this state, with at least 5 or 6 million Republicans and independents who think more or less alike, who more or less agree with you and me, if those persons were contributing $100 a year to some centralized fund, we wouldn't have these problems, and we wouldn't, since when should a whole state, the 6th largest economy in the world, since when should the integrity of our election boil down to one guy, Darrell Issa? How did it get to be his job?
That's not the point. No, I disagree with you. With the most important point, the highest priority, is that you need to do something now, because you can talk about giving money to this and that and all that sort of effort. Okay, but you need to do something now to reverse those election results. Because if you don't, then frankly, I don't think $100 from 5-6 million people, giving to a certain organization, I don't think it's going to make any difference, because you still have Tom Steyer and you still have Bloomberg giving tens of millions of dollars specifically to this effort, in which they did drop into these particular races. And that other guy who beat, was it Young Kim, I guess is her name?
Gil Cisneros,
$250 million.
Yeah.
He dropped in $9 million of his own money.
Sure.
But I think you're missing the point that you have to do something now.
Well, I quite agree.
Because if you don't, it makes no difference what you want done. Because with a
Michael,
supermajority.
Michael, I'm going to give you some tough love here.
Over.
I'm going to give you some tough love here. Nobody's coming to save California. Darrell Issa failed to run. Why is he going to? He didn't. He didn't even. He abandoned the field when they could have won. Why in the world would he or anybody else kick in the money?
He would have lost as well. I think he just barely won last time.
Yeah, but he didn't fight.
Yeah,
I'm not so sure if he would have. Well, let me put it this way: that you're crying over spilt milk. Okay?
No.
Yeah, you're crying over spilt. The reason why I think at least sit there and conjecturing, saying, "Well, he didn't run."
No, I'm not conjecturing. I actually have inside information.
The effort made to approach him and talk to him and say, "Look, we need to go and contest these elections and reverse these election results, especially in the state legislature, in the state assembly, and state senate races."
Michael,
where now they have supermajorities, and you're dealing with a loony governor, Democrat, radical, liberal,
they're all the same.
Radical leftist governor.
Michael, quick question. Michael,
don't do this. He'll probably be a smart guy. He'll just leave the state like a lot of other people are doing.
Count on it. Have you called Darrell Issa's office?
No.
Okay, do that. And I promise you, I will call Darrell Issa's office, and I'll get an inside answer Okay, and then I'll bring that answer back to you.
Yeah,
Michael?
but you need the legal infrastructure.
Oh, I know this.
I have no idea how to actually get this done. I don't even know if it's even possible to get done.
No,
We need,
it's not.
Maybe from the Pacific.
It requires the
Foundation.
candidate to challenge those results. Only candidates have the ability to do it. Michael, I want to thank you for your input. The line's lighting up. Thank you for participating in the call tonight. We've enjoyed having you. Please call again. Carlos from Carson, how about you? What say you?
Well, good evening. Hope we take time this Thanksgiving to be with our families and just forget and appreciate our families and forget a little bit about the turbulent times we are living right now.
That sounds good.
I'm very concerned as to what's going on at the border. Some of the caravans are already arriving.
Yes.
A minor group of they started arriving and headed towards the beach area over there, Playas de Tijuana. And some LGBT groups arrived also on bus, and they were giving police escort by the Mexican government to the
right,
beach area.
I know.
Can you believe that?
I know, kind of a concierge service.
Right. So they're being given the red carpet,
Yeah.
but there's already some minor confrontations taking place. The citizens.
I'm showing 8:30 already, Jeff.
Right. Yeah, the citizens over at the Playas de Tijuana.
Hey, Carlos.
Have already.
Yeah, Carlos, we're coming up. I'm only going to have a little bit. I'm going to hold you over after the break if you want. To respond to your comments there. Would you like to hold on?
Yeah, I'll hold on.
Okay, hang on. We'll talk to you after the bottom of the hour. We're on with Carlos from Carson talking about the impact of border issues. This is Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson, and Matthew Alexander, Radio Free Los Angeles. Be sure to call, become part of the program. What are we going to do to save California? Call us at 866-870-5752. Back after the bottom of the hour break.
Now transmitting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to citizen-sponsored Radio Free Los Angeles with President of the California Taxpayers Union, Mike Alexander, and Editor of the Taxpayer Gazette, Jonathan Wilson.
All right, back with you here, Mike Alexander, Matthew Alexander, our special technical assistant here tonight.
I think he's got a future in radio.
He may. He at least knows how to be quiet when we're on the air.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to say hello to your sisters?
Hello.
Well, yeah. Use their names so they'll know.
Hello, Molly and Paisley.
All right.
Molly and Paisley?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Paisley's middle name is Rose, so I call her Rosie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that's the 3-year-old?
That's a 3-year-old. Almost 4 here in a couple of weeks here.
And his last name is Alexander.
There you go.
Which is
That's
your
right.
last name too, right?
All 3 of us.
Yeah,
okay.
It works better when your sisters have the same last name.
It's probably
as
not
you.
always the case.
Yeah.
Right? But
Hey, well, let's get back with Carlos on line 2 and finish our discussion. Are you there, Carlos?
I'm here.
All right, sir.
And as I was saying, they're having some minor confrontations already between the local citizens of Playas de Tijuana, it's an upper middle class community.
Yes.
And they're not welcoming the caravans. They're already open up. They had a demonstration there against the arriving caravans.
Right.
And then there's some other groups from a vicinity outside of Tijuana that are coming in apparently and picking up fights with the people from the caravans. There's friction at the border.
Sure is.
And I'm afraid that some of these people that are coming in the caravans are nothing but hoodlums. Some of them. I'm not saying that all of them are. Some of them are family people that they're out looking for a job. But there's others that I'm afraid may be here to cause trouble. Maybe gang members from MS-13. They're even escalating the walls already. The walls by Playa de Tijuana, and they're taunting the border patrol there.
Yes.
So I think it's going to escalate further.
That's right.
Just the beginning.
That's right. Well, this illegal immigration has been a significant destabilizing factor in Mexico for years. Mexico has almost as big of an illegal immigration problem as the United States does. I should say, the northern United States. They, of course, are Los Estados Unidos de Mexico. They, too, are the United States, and they have had tremendous problems over the years. They've had problems with rebel groups in the south, with the Indians. When I say Indians, I mean Indios down there. They've had a lot of problems, and now this caravan represents outside interference. We have... I've heard reports from reporters, documentarians who were shooting documentaries on this so-called caravan, this invasion force, and they have described in detail the tremendous logistics and the tremendous amounts of money in the millions of dollars that are necessary to move this body of people from one end of Mexico, which is a long ways, from one end of the Mexico up to the North American border, and they are meant to destabilize Mexico, destabilize our border, produce events. And this is classic communist-style, Nazi-style antics where they create civil unrest and provoke reactions on the part of the established government. And in this place...
Well, yes, you know that George Soros' Open Society is financing most of these endeavors.
That's right.
He finances revolutions, the color revolutions all over the world. He should be brought to justice.
This is a bad actor.
He's in charge with espionage or whatever.
Well,
the man is deliberately destabilizing countries.
But an even greater enemy than George Soros, we always expect Soros and MS-13 and these pressure groups like, what do they call it, Pueblo Sin Fronteras, City Without Borders. We always expect these people to do what they do. But more problematic is what we failed to do. And I'm not sure what President Trump is doing. The courts and Congress have succeeded in tying his hands quite a bit and have made it very, very difficult for him to act. And we had pictures. Hell, we had General Mattis at the border here down in San Diego just last week, and I never did hear what the upshot of that was. Did you, Jonathan?
I didn't. No.
Yeah. So he's down there. We've got people coming over. We allegedly, I wouldn't say allegedly, reportedly have federal troops on the border, but yet they view this as a law enforcement matter and therefore subject to the Posse Comitatus Act, which prohibits the use of federal military troops in local law enforcement or in law enforcement activities. So if we call it a caravan, then you can't use troops. You call it an invasion, it's something very different. I can't say that I'm a fan of using troops under these circumstances because I'm well aware of the problems that are created, but nonetheless, we don't have a coherent response. But the question that we asked here at the beginning of the show, Carlos, and I'd like to get your reaction. The question was, what do we do to turn California around? Which is another way of asking what happened in the last election. And here in California, do you think that the lack of congressional action on immigration helped or hurt conservative and Republican candidates?
Well, I haven't really sat down to analyze which party is doing what, because, to be honest with you, I've lost my confidence in both parties.
Yes.
Because as I study history and go back in time, I see that both parties are contributing to the chaos that we have in our society, the
Yes.
social chaos, the economic chaos, the military chaos. They all partake in the incrementation of the wars in the Middle East, the incrementation of our debt. Our debt is now $23 million.
Trillion.
Each party extends the debt a step further.
Yes.
So I believe that both parties, to a large extent, are pawns of a much greater force, the international banking community, that wants to bankrupt our nations and is bankrupting the whole world.
And nobody will talk about it. Yeah, I said nobody talks about it. That is in Congress. We're whistling past the graveyard here in California. Just our public pensions in the three major systems is over $1 trillion underfunded and getting greater as we talk. Sovereign debt here, and that's just our fiscal debt, is up, as you point out, $23 trillion. And then we have our unfunded entitlements, projected deficits on Social Security and Medicare, and those obligations are forecast in the hundreds of trillions. And many of the people that we bring here from other countries are going to put on, will find funding, will receive benefits from those same overpressured system. And it seems as if we are on a collision course with a disaster at the same time that we're seeing China on the rise and we're seeing Russia on the rise and becoming more aggressive. I think we've got problems out here. Carlos, I want to thank you so much for participating in the program. You've called in before. We love having you as a listener, and I hope you and your family have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Well, thank you very much, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. We need a happy Thanksgiving.
We do. We need to take a break. I'm looking forward to it. This time tomorrow, I'll have a drink in my hand. I'll be thinking about you. Have a good one, Carlos. Have a
All
good
right,
weekend.
buddy. Thank you.
Take care, sir. Bye-bye. In any event, we're getting some pretty good reaction here. I certainly think that in the last election, that Congress could have done a lot to stimulate things. Here's what Congress didn't do, and Trump was unable to do because he couldn't get help from Congress, including Paul Ryan. They grew the government even after they passed tax rate reductions, but that put more money into the system. And that's still, even after record tax revenues, the government continues to borrow $700 and some billion more than we took in taxes, and those were record revenues. We didn't so much as lay a brick on that wall, right? We didn't drain the swamp. Did we drain? Did we get one rat out of the swamp? Really? We've identified a bunch of them. A few of them have been fired out of the FBI, but we still have enormous problems.
We got a long way to go.
We do,
yeah,
right?
And California, we have got to regroup and re-strategize about what to do in the state.
Speaking of, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to open it up and invite callers. If anyone has ideas, please give us a call.
Well, we have a genius on the line right now.
Okay.
Dave, how you doing? Dave in Whittier, how you doing this afternoon? Fire away, man. Have you got the answer?
Okay. Hey, I tell you what, if I had how much they spent in the presidential election in 2008 on negative campaigning, I could crush this Democrat Party in California, and I know how.
Yes.
I'm telling you, Mike, it's comprehensive, and I gather it from people, and I gather it from my own understanding, empirical understanding. So I'd like to offer some reasons why we lost and what we can do about it, okay? So Rush Limbaugh said in the Washington Post that had all of these incumbents in the Republican Congress not quit, we could have still had the House. Now, that's his view, and I tend to believe that
It was a factor. There were 40 to 45 incumbent Republicans that decided to duck out and retire.
Yeah, and I'll offer some points here. First of all, let's go from Tom Del Beccaro.
Yes.
He's the former chairman of the Republican Party. Last year, he was asked on a show, how can we win in California? And he said, number one, and I agree with all of it, get rid of Prop 14. Tom Palzer started that for the Republican Party and back it.
Tom's a good man.
He didn't understand that we didn't need the Republican Party to get that through.
Right.
As a ballot initiative. He said also, tell the voters that the Democrat Party can't help you, and that means in different ways we need to say that. By all the destructive policy that they're doing, causing the homeless crisis, causing the high crime increase, causing the fires, high cost of living, housing crisis.
Lousy schools.
What? Say again?
Lousy schools.
Yeah, exactly. And so the number 3 point he made was offer something, bring something to the table, like water storage. Jerry Brown has done diddly on that. Now, there are some other points here that, like recently, Mr. Carl DeMaio brought up after the election. He's got a strategy. He's asking people to help out with their ideas. So he has 5, and I don't remember all of them, but I'll say some of them. 1, we have a thoughtful leadership, and to me that means a total upturn of the Republican Party of California is totally inept this time around. They refused to negative campaign. In 2008, I'd like to refer you to an article that I kept back then after the election. USA Today, front page, negative campaigning works, $10 billion spent in the presidential election. And who did that? It was Barack Obama. But the Republicans do not want to negative campaign, but we have to, or we're going to continue the downslide of California. We have no choice.
Well, I agree. Yeah, but not to interrupt your presentation, but the major problem here in California is that after the I forget which race it was, but it was the last time that they attempted to win in California at all. And I remember it was back in 2000. I think it was 2011 or 12. I was at a particular event, and I was introduced to Mitch McConnell, and he was then the minority leader in the Senate. And I asked him a question to which I already knew the answer, but I asked him what the Republican Party was going to do in the upcoming senatorial race. And his reply, very candidly, was nothing. And he mumbled and marbled something to the effect that we didn't think that we could compete in this market out here.
Which is totally untrue.
Well, I know from your lips to God's ears, but there is the problem. And from then on, I mean, I had seen this myself. I got no end of grief from the Republican Party for pointing out their various problems and failures here. And from that point on, California became a donor state, organ donor. We were California by 2010, and certainly by 2012, had become a net exporter of political capital. Every significant candidate in the United States comes to California to get money. Every presidential candidate comes to get money. But I don't think, even in 2008, I don't think that either Barack Obama or John McCain came to campaign in California. They came here to fundraise, but not to campaign. And
I've got a few more points for you, if
please fire away.
To do that.
Yes, Dave.
Okay. And another point, I have my 3 points that I could have kicked rear and given. I couldn't I had to quit campaigning because my friend got sick and I had to help her out. But here's what I would have done, and I did it. I created a Facebook page with the permission. I got permission from each. Young Kim's campaign, Mimi Walters' campaign, Dana Rohrabacher's campaign, and Diana Harkey's campaign to post their websites on my page I created. It was Help OC Young Kim, Diane Harkey, Mimi Walters, and Dana Rohrabacher win. And here's what I put there up about Ruda, who ran against Dana. Now, your co-host made a great point, and this is one of my points that I made
he's
up there
a genius.
on my website. The union propaganda, we've got to counter that.
That's correct.
But
That's
Mike,
right.
Here's what I would have said. Each of these campaigns, and somebody else, a campaign strategist on another station said that this, and I knew this strategist. I talked with him during the campaign, his GOP field office, and I know his name, I won't mention, but he said that field office guy did not do the general helps technique of those campaigns. They managed all these campaigns. This guy, the field officers of the Republican Party, I was astounded that that's what they were doing, and I didn't know that. So it was a learning experience. But here's what this is what I did to campaign for Rohrabacher on my webpage I created for all of them. I mentioned Ruda is saying in his ads, oh, Dana wouldn't work across the aisle, blah, blah, blah. And here's a good point to make about Ruda that I learned. And I already knew it.
And what is that point?
He campaigned as a left-winger during the primary and campaigned as a moderate centrist during the general.
And they always do. They lie.
Deceiver. So here's the thing I did. I posted. You can go up there. You can see what I did. It's called on Facebook. Help OC's Young Kim, Diane Harkey, Mimi Walters, and Dana Rohrabacher win. I created a post, and it says, "Here's what Ruda is. He's no different from Pelosi. He will increase your health care premiums, number one. He wants to take away your tax cuts, and he wants to make you pay for thousands and thousands of more illegal aliens, bringing them in." Now, I would have won on that. We would have won on that.
Sure. Yeah.
And the last one is that we need to, like DeMaio said, here are a few of his points. We need thoughtful leadership. That means we need a new Republican Party leadership in California. Number two, grassroots, we need to recruit more people. And he has three other points that you go and find out on his website, reformcalifornia.org. But we can win. We've got to recruit more people. We've got to talk to Hispanics. I've talked to a lot of them during the 2014 campaign. I had a line. I did my own survey at Taco Bell. Whenever I was at the grocery store, talk to the cashier or the gas station. I'd say, hey, guess who's taking too much from your paycheck? And they say, who? The Democrats are taking too much from you and me and everybody. They say, you're right.
Yeah. Now, Dave, I believe that your points are correct, and I believe that there are many among conservative Democrats and Republicans who would agree with you, and who, if given a little bit of time, would be able to articulate the same criticisms. In other words, wait, stay with me. Stay with me, Dave. Dave, I'm trying to respond to you here.
Go ahead.
And I mean no disrespect when I say what I'm about to say. And that is, there's nothing particularly original or unique about what you just said. In other words, it's basic. It's basic common sense, and yet it's not done. And so I would like to examine what I've attempted to do here. And I had Michael from Encino, who was arguing with me, and I think missing my point. And I agree with him about doing this, that, and the next thing. But the guys who were defeated, the guys who left office, Jim Brulte, Tom Del Bacar, all these guys need to create a very different type of organization. I don't think they're particularly the guys to do it, but they're the ones that ought to be trying to put together a statewide effort. Once again, Dave, when was it that we didn't know that they were going to cheat? When was it that we didn't know that they were going to be putting $1 billion a year in dues into the system every year? When was it? When was it that we didn't know that redistricting is coming up in 2020? Right? The calendar is a relentless thing. We know these things are going to happen.
We all need to hold responsible those who are responsible most, and that is the Democrat Party left-wingers in California and across the United States.
That's right. Now, they know that they're exquisitely well organized. They're not particularly efficient because they have so doggone much money, but these people are well organized across the United States. When didn't we know about this organization? We knew. You see what I mean?
People, Mike, it's
That's
on the grassroots level.
That's right. You're totally right. And you didn't say a single thing that I disagree with at all. But what we lack is the organizational base. We lack a national policy. And what we have is the equivalent of a Boy Scout troop or a volunteer group going up against the Wehrmacht.
And they're unwilling to negative campaign. Especially on Prop 47 and 109, they should have messaged that, and we would have won on the crime issue, because historically, Republicans win on the crime issue. That's another Republican saying that last year, but they didn't do it, and we have to do it because it's about them endangering our lives and lowering our quality of life, Mike.
That's right. No, totally with you. In this state, sixth largest economy in the world, we simply cannot allow this entire state to slip behind the Iron Curtain and to come completely under the control of the left. That need not happen. Not with 5, 6, 7, 8 million people in this state who think like you and I do. Dave, that music means that we're done. Dave, I hope you and your family have a very nice Thanksgiving. And I thank you for calling in. Don't be a stranger. We love hearing from you. This is Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson, and Matthew Alexander. Say hello, Matthew. All right, we're coming up for a break now, and we'll be back after the 9 o'clock hour when I'm going to have a special recitation for you.
Come in, Southern California. This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Do you copy? Repeat, do you copy?
Now transmitting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to citizen-sponsored Radio Free Los Angeles with President of the California Taxpayers Union, Mike Alexander, and editor of the Taxpayer Gazette, Jonathan Wilson.
Okay, Mike Alexander, Jonathan
Grandpa.
Wilson, and yes, and that little voice that you heard is my grandson, Matthew Alexander.
Matthew's going to take over the show if you're not careful.
I know, I hope so. He's enjoying it here tonight. Right. So, this is Family Week, as I mentioned to you.
I'm not listening to you.
Okay, now. Okay, take it down there. We're not married. Okay. The as I mentioned to you at the top of the last hour there, this is our Thanksgiving show. And I'm going to be gone here this coming Sunday, so we're going to repeat the show. Anybody who'd like to be part of the show, this is a great night to call in. This is our after-action review. We're talking about a number of issues.
Yeah, call in tonight and then listen next week and hear yourself on the radio.
Yeah. Definitely. It'll be a good opportunity. And if you want to do that, the number to call is 866-870-5752 or 866-870-KRLA. And the website is am870theanswer.com. So, we're very proud to be part of the KRLA family. And by the way, if I don't want to forget to say happy Thanksgiving to you, Jeff. I hope you have a nice holiday. Will you be spending it with your family? All right, excellent, great. And the lovely Miss Brooke, she's behind on this because of the time delay here, but I know that she and her dad and family are going to have a good Thanksgiving there. So it's a good time to wish everybody a Thanksgiving. How about you, Jonathan? Where will you be spending it? With some friends or what?
I'm going to be in town with some friends. Yeah.
Now your mom, she's back on the in where, South Carolina?
Yeah, in Beaufort, South Carolina.
Yeah, Beaufort. Yeah, we know Beaufort, man. Yeah. Right at the gateway to paradise there, Paris Island.
Yeah.
So in any event, it'll be a nice time, and I'm going to be back in Washington, D.C. with a couple of my sons and 4 of our grandchildren that are back there. So it's good to be with you tonight. We're going to continue our discussion here with a few callers, and then I want to read something to you that's very important about where we stand here in America and our fight for freedom, and I will introduce that reading before I make it, and then before the end of the show, we will have our perennial favorite our Government Grifter of the Week award. You got some good ones.
I've got it's a special edition tonight, so I want to tease it a little bit. We're going to have the top pension payments, the top paid retirees in California in 2017.
Yeah. Now, I want you to put sharp objects around, no poison, no nothing, because you might get suicidal when you hear it. But in any event, we'll continue here. We have Mike from Palos Verdes. Mike, how are you?
Hey, happy holidays to you guys.
Yeah.
And, hey, can I ask Matthew a question?
Yeah.
Matthew, does your grandpa know that you're trying to take his job?
Hey,
wait, he's running around the studio. He's going to get his. He's got to put his headphones on.
Okay, go ahead.
Ask him again.
Hey, Matthew, I'm curious. Does your grandpa know that you're trying to take his job?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's okay to talk. All right.
All right. Thank you.
It's good, Mike. Thank you for being so nice. Fire away. What's your point?
Yeah, real quick question.
Yeah.
One of them is deadly serious, and I'm going to ask you that first, and then the second points are kind of facetious, but semi-serious. One, what is your opinion regarding our debt crisis all the way across the board, like you've already enunciated?
Yes.
But basically, as has been done, supposedly, what I understand in the past 110 years, a reconfiguring of the dollar backed by gold. Is there any credence to that?
Well, you mean as a solution to the problem of inflation?
Yes,
I think. Go ahead.
I'm saying it makes sense. At first, it seems ridiculous, but considering the debt around the world and the numbers I've heard is if they were to come up with a figure, how all of them have done before previously, is gold's going to go up to around $9,000-$10,000 an ounce.
Yeah, it always does.
Right.
It always does.
So, but that would address the issues with China, Russia, our debt, our military, homeless, blah, 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 because we have the most gold tonnage in the entire world by a factor of 2. So I'm serious on that, and I would like your opinion, and let me ask the comical things a little bit later.
Okay. Very briefly, for us to move to the gold standard, well, let's start another point. There is always, so to speak, a gold standard. That is, gold is always priced in the market in such a way as to reflect the real value of the dollar. So if the value of gold rises, it rises because the value of the dollar has declined. So it is always out there as a measure or a metric, a benchmark of the true value of the American dollar. What prevents the dollar, even as it is inflated, what prevents it from being priced too high, priced too low, that is driving up the price of gold, is the fact that money is invested in a very productive economy and yields returns that are greater than the returns on the gold. So gold, as always, is a store of value and a safety, and holding gold has its own penalties. If it's in a rising, inflated market, then you are rewarded for holding gold by the rise in the price of gold. But gold is the ultimate liquid asset. That is, it is readily exchanged for value, but it is an unproductive asset. It just does not produce any interest. So it can be very expensive insurance. Right now, we've seen the economy grow because of low interest rates, held there artificially by the Fed, particularly during 8 years of Obama. These interest rates are starting to rise, as they should, because there's a lot of competition for capital. Now, that's where the real problem comes in from the federal government, in that it is out there competing for money. So it's going to the borrowing window right along with you and me. And with a young family looking for a mortgage, with the city looking to float a bond, right? With the corporation seeking to grow itself or to recapitalize. this is where the damage is hurt, is inflicted, and now we're going to see a rise probably in the price of the bond, which is going to please some people, particularly those who are on fixed incomes and have bonds. They're going to do okay, but the people that need to grow the economy, companies, individuals, young people, they're going to be harmed by this. And if it gets really bad where there's a run on the dollar, and bear in mind that China itself holds probably over $1 trillion in American debt, we're off the charts. I mean, I don't know that you and I could figure it out with a battalion of economists.
Right.
But we don't know where it ends.
But we're at to the point where we may not even be able to pay the interest on the debt, and that's going to cause political instability here and around the world.
That's right.
It's going to come down to something, either a forgiveness of the debt or coming up and waking people up and slap them around to get this stuff in order. So
correct.
That's just one thing. But so that would be infeasible from your way of thinking, unfeasible?
Well, it's going to be forced on. I think, and Trump is going to have to start talking about it, but you and I are talking about it. We've got to get our politicians to grow up and mature, to man up or woman up, whatever expression you want, and we're going to have to take this on and discuss it. And it begins with our pension plan. Now down there, our pension system in California, and we are building local debt as well as sovereign debt is not limited to the United States of America. The federal, we're generating tons of government debt here, bonds as far as the eye can see, and that's why this program tends to emphasize state and local, because it represents at least half of total government spending in the United States. I've got a couple more calls coming through. What was your lighthearted note, Mike?
Well, my lighthearted note to basically shut up the Ocasios and the Schumers regarding the caravan stuff. Just Trump come out, and I'm being semi-serious and semi-satirical, but approach the United Nations. We're a world community. We all have to take care of these people. Mexico, Honduras, all of them, they don't want it.
Right.
So I propose that the United Nations come down, intercede down in Mexico to house and care for these people, and we will have relocation camps around the world based on these people's needs. The second thing is, going real quick, and kind of a joke, but serious, if that falls short, then I'm going to implement a vote that the taxpayers agree to tax themselves to pay for these people. If that falls short, then I'm going to require households take some of these people in and support them like they're asking the American people to do.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. We've got all kinds of people living in our homes. The biggest business in the United States is government. Mike, I want to thank you for your very cogent comments and your participation tonight, and wish you and your family a happy Thanksgiving. Hope you have a great one.
Thank you. And watch out for Matthew.
I will, man. This kid's on the run. All right. Take care, sir. Bye-bye. Okay, I don't know if we have anybody else coming in or not. It's been wonderful. I want to I typically have somebody on the radio as a guest host. Excuse me, as a guest to comment on the things that we're doing. Over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to start bringing to you some readings, some guest hosts from people who are not with us, who have written things that need to be heard that are also important. In my own case, I've always had a long devotion to the liberal arts, to history, to the classics, classical languages, and so forth. These were at one time the root and the of America. Of classical learning, even here in America. It became known in the Middle Ages as the Ratio Studiorum, the root of all studies was the study of classics. We here in the United States have lost a lot of our ability to understand our freedoms, where we come from. The decline in education has not only been the decline in the three arts, reading, writing, arithmetic, and so forth, but there've been really big problems in the basic avenues of understanding the very concept of truth. So we're going to start in on some of them. I got a few callers here, though. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to it, but one of the people that want to read to you from will be Robert Gannon, who is a Jesuit, but he was the president of Fordham. He died back in the 60s. But he had a lot to say about the liberal arts and the condition of education in the United States and the threats that we have faced. And particularly valuable, he found, was our own founding. So I'll come back to that if I can start part of it. But right now, I've got one more call that I'll take, and that's Gloria from Orange County who's calling in. She wants to weigh in on something. How are you this evening, Gloria?
Oh, wonderful. So good to speak with you.
It will seem here. Thank you for joining the show.
I always listen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I wanted to say a couple things about, with the people traveling up here, there's a couple of reporters, Republican reporters, who actually went down. And we're kind of speaking with some of the guys coming through. And they said these immigrants are mostly... like 95% is men, like 35 and younger. Mm-hmm. Very few women, very few children. And a few of them they were talking to, and a couple of guys that were coming from Honduras said, well, we want to come to America because we're escaping Honduras because they've killed someone in the, and they're about to be put in jail, so they're coming up here.
Yes.
And also Mexico has taken 7 children because they found that the guys that had these children were going to put them in through human trafficking. And they've rescued 7 of the children who were like 5 to 7 years old. And another thing is these illegal women who are coming through here, and they have babies, and they automatically become citizens. Now,
yes.
And also how much money it's costing us to take, to pay for all of this. And we could have already built the wall by now. Mm-hmm. So what is your opinion on about having them, like, say, they're not automatically citizens if their mothers are illegal? How can they automatically be a citizen if the mother's illegal? I just wanted to get your take on that.
Sure.
And again,
well,
and another thing, have a great Thanksgiving. I'm going to,
and you do the same, Gloria.
Thank you so much.
My take on it, you may have heard us talk about it a little bit before, but this birthright citizenship, that is, that if you manage to crawl over the border or land here, do whatever else, and the child lands with you, somehow that child becomes an American citizen. I don't think that is the law. I think it's a violation of all of our understanding of the 14th Amendment. Many people pretend otherwise. I don't think that we have it, but it's clearly a problem. I mean, right here in the San Gabriel Valley, we have, what do they call it, birth tourism? Is that the phrase they apply to it?
I think so, yeah.
But we've got a lot of people coming from Asia, particularly China, young pregnant mothers. They fly in here. They're here for a couple, 3 months, months before the kid gets here, a couple of months afterwards. They fly home with that birth certificate and a passport. Can anybody say sleeper agent? Yeah. What kind of connection do they have? It's nonsense. It's absolutely outrageous. And when
I've actually heard that.
Yeah, and when people come here illegally, that person is not a legal resident. That is a valid green card holder, and they're certainly not a citizen. So there's no interpretation of the law, no legitimate interpretation that makes them citizens. And yet, the very fact that they're citizens means that they get to vote down the road. But the whole problem is this. The major problem is that these people are, whether they're legal or illegal, are not assimilating, and they come in and represent a tremendous burden on our welfare system. So at a time when we're broke, we're adding more demand, more load onto our public schools. At a time when we haven't paid for the pensions of the existing teachers, we're loading more people, more students into the system. So if we're going to keep this cockamamie system that we have, then we need to reduce the overall number of students in our system. We can do that clearly by restricting and illegal immigration and repatriating those who are illegal. And if we go back and we say that you're not, well, we're going to have to clean this up. And the people are demanding it, and the politicians are not paying attention to it. Now, here's what's really happening ultimately here. And, well, let's see. I tell you what, we're government grifter time, aren't we? We're
getting there, yeah.
Okay, you give me a high sign on this, but this is another form of gerrymandering. As you know, gerrymandering is a political practice which permits politicians to redraw the lines of electoral districts in such a way as permits them to select their constituents rather than having the constituents select who's going to represent them. Well, many politicians in this country, mostly on the Democrat side, learned that their ideas were no longer popular and they had reached the limits of what they could do with gerrymandering, and so decided to choose another kind of constituent, and that would be somebody from another country to come here who would agree with them. And when they brought them here, they'd make sure that they maintained their own culture, that they didn't learn the language so that you and I couldn't talk with them and they couldn't talk with us. But there's one thing that they would know: they get free things taken from you and me, given to them. They get free things, and to keep those free,
we're paying for them.
We're paying for it. It's a whole massive program, and this is how the United States is being transformed. It is not just being transformed in terms of people coming here from another country. It's not immigration in and of itself. It is a very large body of unassimilated, un-American people, regardless of their status, and that same program is being carried out with citizens. It's being carried out by means of a propaganda program in the public schools and in the cities. Hey, Gloria, you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I got to cut now to Government Grifter of the Week. Don't be a stranger. Call in again, okay?
You know what? I am actually the one that called a few weeks back and had Brooke tell you to reread the everything for what we're going to vote for, because I wanted everybody to hear that. And I told everybody, vote straight Republican, and I think there's shenanigans going on
with
Democrats. But
Gloria,
the awards are my favorite. I'll see you. I'll talk to you later.
God bless. Bye-bye. Okay. Music, maestro, please, if you got it in there. Ba-da-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-bum.
California, it's this week's Government Grifter Awards. We've got a special edition tonight because we have a special guest in the studio, Matthew. But we are basically nominating the top 3 pension earners, retirees in California in 2017, and we get this information from transparentcalifornia.com. Our first nominee is with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. And it is the Boatmate.
Okay, Boatmate.
Last year, the Boatmate received a pension payment of $947,000 and some change.
Whoa!
The boatmate.
Retirement.
Yes, and that includes a drop payment, which
Yeah.
I'm not totally sure what that is. You
If
might
I
wanna
if I
explain
have
that.
some time, I'll explain it. Go ahead.
Our second nominee is Deputy Police Chief in Los Angeles County. Received a pension payment last year totaling $1,010,711.35.
Amazing.
And
One
our
guy.
third nominee is the Assistant Fire Chief with Los Angeles County. Total pension payment last year of $1,397,892.77.
Oh, my God. It was that another guy with a drop payment?
Yes, they're all drop
Unbelievable.
payments. So
Oh, yeah.
I
Oh,
don't know.
jeez. I mean, that's... Well, I tell you what. I know 3 guys that have much to be thankful for.
That's true.
Amazing. All right. Drum roll.
And our winner of this week's Government Grifter Award goes to the Assistant Fire Chief, retired, Los Angeles County.
Oh, man.
Congratulations,
And what was
Fire Chief.
And what was the rip on that one? How much?
$1,397,892.77.
Amazing.
That's a good year.
Hey, and now you know why we have a pension problem in this state. How many seconds or minutes do I have, Jeff? I got 1 minute. That drop payment is what happens here. Take the music down. We're done. Thanks. We have here in the state, we have a program which permits police and fire and certain other people to retire, but continue to be employed by a city or county or government entity. What happens is that they don't get the retirement plus pay. Their retirement pay is accrued in an account. It accumulates interest. Then when they finally do retire, they pick up that accrued pension, and for however many years. But it shows you that it is true, without question, that these... am I done now? Okay, I'm bye. Happy Thanksgiving.
Radio Free Los Angeles was sponsored by Private Trust Management Group on AM 870